Hey guys, I'm Dan Rodgers with the Key Leadership Inc. and I'm excited about what we get to talk about today. The last video, we talked about principles of how to become a better communicator. We talked about 3 principles that I know you will enjoy. Now this video, we're going to talk about how to become a little bit vulnerable, understanding exactly what kind of a person am I in my communication. Stick around for just a minute and we will get started. Alright guys, I'm excited about video number 2. We're going to quickly talk back about video number 1, review it really quickly, and then get into this lesson for today on vulnerability, helping you become a little bit more vulnerable and looking at who you really are as a communicator of value. Number 1, last video we talked about what is sales? Communication of value. Sales is communication of value. Number 2, we talked about how do I sell? I must learn to sell so I can give the gift of value unselfishly. And thirdly, we talked about why do people buy? Why do people buy? We buy on emotion and then justify logically. Those are principles. And remember our takeaway? Rules create techniques and principles create a lifestyle. Rules create techniques and principles create a lifestyle. Okay? Let's make sure, video number 2, we're going to help you become a little bit vulnerable. I want to ask you this question. Are you willing as a professional to really look at yourself and really learn to identify what kind of a person am I really? Look at the real results of your communication of value. I mean, don't look at the false facade. Let's look at the reality. Let's learn to look a little bit deeper at ourselves. You don't have to tell everybody about it. The part of you that you don't tell everybody about, but you think about and you realize and you wonder why you're stuck. I'm going to give you the 3 types of people that are watching this video right now. Number 1 are people that are very good at starting relationships. They're very good at starting relationships. They're very good at the beginning of a relationship. Okay? We're going to talk about that kind of a person. The other kind of person we're going to talk about is going to be somebody who's very good at ending relationships. All right? You're very good at not having good relationships. Okay? People buy from people they know, like, and trust. These people here have a hard time getting people to trust them. Do people really trust you as a professional? Do they really trust you? I mean, is your character really something they can trust? They're good at ending relationships. And then thirdly is the cultivator. The people that understand how to cultivate a relationship. The value of cultivating a real relationship. First, there are starters. Let's talk about them. People that are really good at starting a relationship, let's go to networking events. People go to networking events with a smile pasted on their face and they've got their stack of business cards they're ready to give out and their other hand is empty, ready to be full of other business cards, aren't you? Don't you go to those events like that? And we love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet people. You are really good at giving the handshake. You're really good with the smile. You're really good with the eye contact. You're really good at making people, and you feel really good about how you start that relationship. You're really good at starting it. But one thing you may have to overcome is fear. Fear. The thing that will help you become a cultivator is overcoming the fear of a follow-up. The fear of a follow-up. Because one thing that we have to understand, when you start a relationship, at the beginning of a relationship as a professional, one thing that holds people back that are at this point in their life, that are willing to admit it, tend to have a fear of exposing themselves too soon. They tend to be vulnerable. They tend to be afraid to to tell too much because they might lose the sale. They might not be able to keep it around. They're wondering, is this guy going to bring any value to what I'm doing right now? Is this guy is he real or am I real? Am I being real or is he being fake? Is he just pasting his smile on his face? We have a hard time starting a relationship because of fear of that relationship. Let's remember this. Everybody puts their pants on the same way. Everybody wakes up in the morning with bad breath. Nobody is better than you. Just because they make more money than you doesn't mean you have to look at them differently. Learn to overcome that. Learn to look at people as though they are one other human being that you can communicate value to, and they want to communicate value to you. People love good relationships. That's why we interact with each other like we do so often. Even if you're an introvert or an extrovert, no matter where you fall on that scale, one thing we have to understand is that overcoming that fear of losing a relationship is important. Overcoming the fear of vulnerability is important because we have to make sure we understand where you are. Are you a starter? Are you somebody that's really good at the beginning of a relationship? You're really good at making sure you have that smile. You've got an awesome personality. People are like, wow, he has a great personality. He's a magnet for people, okay? Then there's the enders. We're going to talk about them. The starters, they need to tone it up a little bit. They need to move forward a little bit, break through that invisible wall of fear. The people at the end that are really good at losing relationships, that are not good at maintaining long-term professional relationships, they need to understand trust. Trust. Trust will help them become a cultivator. They need to understand the speed of trust. Stephen Covey wrote a phenomenal book. It's a little bit of a hard read. I'm going to warn you in advance, but I want to tell you one of the principles I took away from that book, The Speed of Trust. Trust may take 2 minutes, it may take 2 years, it may take 2 decades, but either way, it is worth it. The people that are good at ending relationships, people know them and they like them, but they don't trust them. We have to make sure that these people here, you need to tone it back just a little bit. You need to slow down in your sales process a little bit. It's important to do that because if you're a starter, you've got some fear issues that we need to talk about. You've also, if you are a good ender, you have trust issues. You might need to look at how do people actually trust you. Do people actually, it might be because you don't trust them. Maybe you're being a little bit selfish in your approach. Maybe you want to close the deal tomorrow instead of waiting a week or 7 days or 10 days or a month to close that deal. You're more interested in getting the signature on the line than you are at building a relationship. That is important. Nothing pushes people away more than other people that lack trust. Okay? People buy from people that they know, like, and trust. That was the same principle in Dale Carnegie's day with How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it's still good today in 2019. It still is applicable. People buy from those that they know, like, and trust. If you're a good ender, maybe we can tone it back a little bit. I've got some ideas that I'd love to talk to you about of how to overcome this idea of helping people trust you. How do you build genuine rapport with people rather than just fake, mediocre rapport? If you're going around talking to people, everybody asking them, how's the weather, how's the weather, how's the weather? You're probably at this point where you have an issue with trust. People don't trust you just yet. People don't tend to walk around and say, I don't trust you, I don't trust you. They just quietly walk away from that relationship. That is how things work in people skills with communicating value to other people. So we want people to trust us and we want to overcome our fear. Then there's the middle where we cultivate relationships. The cultivators are the ideal people to be. We want to understand with every interaction that we go into with somebody else, no matter what the interaction is, we want to make sure that we are willing to cultivate that relationship. Remember the trust thing? And remember the fear thing? Cultivators are not afraid to plant a seed wherever they go. They look at people much like a farmer looks at his field. He sees a field, it's got weeds all over it. It's not exactly in prime condition to grow the flowers or to grow the food that he wants to grow out of the ground. It's not in prime condition yet, but he sees the value in that field. He looks at it and says, if I pull the weeds out a little bit, if I find out what the problem is, if I move the dirt around a little bit, if I plant the seed in the right spot, if I plant the right seed in the ground, it will grow. And I allow nature to have its course. I don't rush into relationships. I allow nature to have its course on that seed, and I allow that seed to develop over time. Remember the speed of trust? It talks about the principle. Trust might take 2 years, it might take 2 minutes, it might take 2 seconds, it might take 2 decades. It could take a long time. Either way, it is worth the wait. We want to become a cultivator of good relationships. In the third video that we're going to talk about, we're going to discuss and we're going to zero in right here on cultivating relationships with the attraction. The attraction scale. The attraction scale. Where are people really at in that relationship that you have? We're going to talk about that in our next video. Look forward to it. In our first video, we talked about some principles. In this video here, we talked about vulnerability, and next, we're going to talk about attraction.